All right, you guys, welcome back to the Integration Code. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kaylyn. I'm a somatic practitioner, a facilitator, a guide in really the unseen realms. And my work really weaves together nervous system education, embodiment, and really crafting deep relational containers for people exploring expanded states of awareness. I really don't believe that healing comes from these peak experiences. I believe it comes from what your body can hold before, during, and long after that experience ends. So, my work is really rooted in safety first, slowness, and relationship. Not because I'm cautious, but because I've seen what happens when depth moves faster than a nervous system can integrate. I really work with people who have tried everything, people who are highly self aware, deeply spiritual, or really intellectually informed, yet still feel really lost, dysregulated, fragmented, or disconnected from their body and truth. So, this space, this podcast, is really where we tell the truth about healing without bypassing, without all the fucking spiritual performance, without pretending that access is equivalent to integration. So, if you're here because something inside you knows there's more to this work than the experience self, then you are definitely in the right place. You are my people. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. So, right now, we are seeing this rise in psychedelics. And, it's almost like we're having this renaissance of expanded states, of altered states, of just psychedelics. And, we're seeing that access is increasing. Conversations about the medicine are everywhere. Experiences and use around this medicine are becoming more normalized or even commercialized. And I love seeing that, this wisdom, this knowing of use of altered states is really making its way back into mainstream. However, with this rise in access, I'm also seeing this rise in, dysregulation, of fragmentation, of people who are wondering why, these breakthroughs aren't actually changing their lives. And, this episode really isn't meant to be an attack, but for someone who walks through these deep thresholds and transformations and altered states with people, there's this underlying truth that this huge wave that we're going through with psychedelics, this renaissance, has a huge integration problem. And we really need to have a space where we can talk about it clearly and honestly because, you know, right now we really risk recreating the same harm just under a more spiritual tone and name. And this isn't me being, anti medicine or anti experience. This is so deeply about me being pro safety in these spaces. I stand for creating safe containers above everything else, where, there's this deep level of safety, of support, so that people can do this deep work and not just have it be this breakthrough or aha, or, really be something that completely transforms their life and self. And, here's the thing no one really wants to say out loud. Access is expanding faster than the nervous systems can keep up. We have really confused, in the West, I will say, access with readiness and novelty with healing. A powerful experience can definitely open something up, but, opening without containment really creates leakage. And having all these insights without embodiment, without integration, it just becomes spiritual inflation, okay? Or even collapse. And, these altered states, what I love about them is they can show you the truth. They can show you things and open doors that your normal conscious waking window doesn't have access to. But the secret and the truth in that is that, only a regulated body can live in it and can hold it. And many people are entering these states that their bodies can't hold. There's not this level of safety. So then what happens is, I've seen where people feel expanded, but then are completely unstable. They feel like they had this awakening or enlightenment moment, but then are so ungrounded. They feel inspired, but then don't know how to translate it into real life or take action on it. And again, like, this isn't failure and this isn't to attack or call anyone out. It's just physiology. And this is where embodiment gets so misunderstood. Embodiment is not presence as an idea. It is not awareness as a concept. What embodiment truly is the body's capacity to stay with sensation, emotion, meaning, and reality over time. And without that, people chase experiences because the system never actually lands, right? That's what I feel like we have now as a collective. These people always on to the next, always chasing the next high, always chasing the next peak experience. It's like they touch truth, but they don't know how to stay with it. They see things clearly, but they don't live any differently. And if this work leaves you more disconnected from your body, your relationships, or your life, it's not healing. It's not. It might be impressive. You might feel like it's profound, but it is incomplete. Depth is not how far you can go. It's how well you can stay. And, we also need to talk about this just novelty addiction, because it's rampant and it's often disguised as spiritual growth. And what I mean by that is this constant need for escalation. That next experience, that next feeling of expansion, that next activation, that next whatever, right? And if growth requires constant escalation, it's not growth. It's dependency, essentially dressed in mysticism. Okay? And this is so beautifully mirrored by nature. Look at nature. Nothing is blooming, nothing is growing, nothing is constantly on this escalation upwards and calling it growth. Right? It's cyclical. It has seasons. There's the season of release, of death, of void, of rebirth, right? And you as a human are not any different. And these high states can temporarily override the pain or the unfulfillment. But if it's unintegrated, the material always returns, right? The wound usually comes back, and this time it's bigger, it's louder, it's more in your face. Because the truth is, healing is often slow. It's repetitive. It's fucking unsexy. True healing is unsexy work. And that's exactly why it works, you guys. One of the most dangerous gaps I see right now is medicine without relationship. And if you are one of my long-term clients, my private clients, I'm always talking about relationship with the medicine. Because experiences without follow-up, openings, without some form of containment container, no one's tracking the aftermath of this, right? Because, like I said, medicine opens the door, but relationship teaches the body it's safe to walk through it. Facilitation truly is not guidance. It's presence. It's regulation. The ability to stay when things get quiet, when they get slow, when they get uncomfortable, unfamiliar, unknown, right? If no one is responsible for what happens after the experience, the system is essentially incomplete. And this is where I stand very clearly in my work. I'm not here to give people experiences. I'm not here to help them, you know, feel like they touch God, but then do absolutely nothing with it, right? I'm really here to help people learn how to live differently afterwards. Because the medicine really isn't the work, right? It's an opening. The integration is really the juice behind the healing. And I work slowly with my clients because safety, especially in altered states, they take time. I emphasize preparation and integration because insight without embodiment fades. It's literally useless. It's mental masturbation at its finest. I don't promise constant breakthroughs because healing isn't supposed to be a highlight reel. Even like people who act like they get these like profound downloads every day, then are they as powerful if you're truly not learning how to live what you're receiving from the divine, from higher consciousness? Right? To me, it just doesn't make sense. Healing is a relationship with your nervous system, with your body that unfolds over time. And for those holding space in this field, I'll say this plainly, like, we're not here to impress our clients. We're here to protect them, right? To hold, to stay. This renaissance doesn't need more access, in my opinion. It needs facilitators with more integrity, more embodiment, more relationship, more facilitators who understand that slowness, is not this form of, hesitation. It's wisdom. And if this episode is stirring something in you, pause before you move on with your day. Because that pause, that moment, is where integration begins. My work is really designed for people who are done chasing experiences, who are done being on this toxic hamster wheel of productivity and calling it success. And for people who are really ready to build the internal capacity to live with what they've seen, with what they've touched in these altered states. I hold intentional, high-touch containers for conscious inner work at home, where preparation, nervous system support, and integration are not optional, right? These are the foundations. And if you're feeling called to go deeper, not faster, you can explore my current containers and application process through the link in the show notes. And I'm going to leave you with this. Everything begins with discernment. Not everyone is a fit, and that is literally by design. This work is about responsibility, presence, relationship. And if that resonates, I would love to meet you there. And until then, stay embodied, stay honest, and let what you touch actually change you. And if you want more of these conversations, I'll see you on the next one.